Hello, and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon cast from me, Rangru. And today we have a 1v1 on Nuclear Winter is Coming, and this is from the Wargame Bootcamp Discord, Hardened Tournament. On the left hand side, in the blue, we have John Paul II looking better than ever, playing as a blue 4 general motorized deck, and on the right hand side in the red, we have Geralt of Riavia playing as a Red Dragons deck. And as we're seeing right off the bat, we're going to be seeing F-16 block. Going to be keeping the skies clear for any potential helicopter nonsense, and there isn't really much helicopter nonsense at all. Seems like up north, Geralt is going to go for a bit more of an aggressive push. Up here, bringing quite a lot of units. Or down south, Free God. A few AMX-10s. Of course, it's a blue 4 general motorized deck, so you might as well use the AMX as they're fast and speedy, and by God, you're very good at cheating the enemy in general, that is. You're also opening up with quite a few Stinger Little Birds as well as a Recon Cobra, so I definitely want to try to keep the skies clear for any potential helicopter play. No, not really paying off, of course, as Geralt is going for a pretty ground-based approach. Both sides are setting up in front of their retrospective points in the northern flank here. Interested to see if Geralt manages to actually push on through, because there's not a whole lot here from John Paul. He does have the Lee Wren reconnaissance nearby. Yeah, pretty well set up actually, even flanking some around the northern area as well. There he goes in to go for the push. Jaeger 90s aren't going to get spotted. They're going to take an awful lot of fire here, even have the Chonimas providing fire support. I don't think it's going to be great for John Paul, but of course, Israeli Kernas comes in, and he is just going to nuke the WZs and the Bongshoos, but not enough to completely wipe out infantry. MX-10 in pretty good ambush position. I do like how Jaegers are falling back. Try and bait the infantry into the AMX-10 fire out. Need some reinforcements from Mr. John Paul. And the central area is pretty clearly under John Paul's control. But oh, what is... What's he doing? Is he doing an AMX-10 cheese? Is this private purgatory? Going into Gulf, and as you can see, it is pretty much completely bare. We got one MIA to a few rockets who could suppress them a little bit, but not enough. Even then, we do have these helicopters gearing to try and shoot down other helicopters, but here we go, we do have the hot ATGM heli. Coming in hot, but not going to be able to spot the AMX-10s as they sneak in through Gulf. Yeah, he knows something is up, he's getting another hot as well as a PGZ. Here comes a Cobra and the Crotau. Yeah, moving very aggressively along this artery here. He might as well, because there's nothing there to stop him. Not a single unit in this town try and block it off. He's moving back his EV and Gulf to try and hide it. But AMX-10s, they are on the prowl. PGZ here trying to shoot down the enemy helicopters. Really needs to try and kill out reconnaissance Cobra more than anything. That can actually provide a good amount of fire support here for Mr. John Paul. Those hot ATGM helis aren't doing all that great. They've pretty much been missing all their shots, which is not ideal in a situation like this. I mean, a PGZ can do decent hit damage, I think, against AMX-10s. It's not an ideal fight, of course. The AMX-10s are a... I was about to say a tank, but it's a little bit too generous. Manson to stun run up, but here comes his buddy and blows him up. Yeah, it's just really not looking good here for John Paul. I mean, Geralt. My apologies, yeah. Up north, it's looking a little bit better. He's moving on through. It'd be interesting to see if he does manage to take Foxtrot. It's always a harder area to push just because it's so close to the enemy spawn point. You can pretty easily get reinforcements. It's not super hard to hold once you fully capture it, however. It's just this open field between you and them. Just put some ATGMs in these buildings here and you're good to go. If you look down south, oh, I'm guessing the Recon Cobra just sniped a Golf CV here. I'm sad that I missed that. This is really gonna screw over Geralt, because like now he's going to come all the way from his home point here to try and put some pressure down south. I mean, his guys in Charlie are essentially surrounded now. So now would be the time for John Paul to try to move pretty aggressively through Gulf or north of Gulf and just try to shut down this area of reinforcements. And if he can bring his own CV onto Gulf, that would be cheesy, but by God, it would work really well for him. Stormers are trying to hold Weather the Storm against a huge amount of Red Dragon units. The nice thing about Geralt playing a more regular deck, no motorized or mechanized nonsense, is he does have proper tanks, which is good against an opponent who doesn't really have proper tanks. Just AMXs. Though to be fair, those AMXs have been proven to be pretty damn efficient. It's really just coming down to the two AMX 10s up north here, trying to ward off this push. They're getting pretty good hits on the infantry, but not enough to clear them out. Geralt is bringing in some more reinforcements or rather down south, but yeah, he really needs to try and secure out southern side, because if you lose Gulf and the enemy puts a spawn point in it, you're just not going to get it back. You have to cross a big bloody bridge. And he pretty much has to succeed the entirety of the south to the enemy. And that's not ideal. Even if you do manage to capture the northern flank, it's still not a worthwhile trade completely to lose the entirety of the south. John Paul is pushing pretty aggressively, getting some SBSs up nearer towards the supply lines here. Necro Tower is also moving really aggressively, maybe a little bit too much, so this SBS troops going to be clearing out the recoilless rifles. Yeah, John Paul's in a lovely position. I'm still waiting for him to try and get a CV on the go. That would be like such a good play. So he is also trying to contend up north, though he's looking a little bit better now. Most of Geralt's push has been, well, halted for the time being, just due to not enough infantry. He did manage to get some Lee Wrens into his northern area here. A rather good reconnaissance spot to see anything that dares move up. John Paul is reinforcing with a good amount of infantry for the time being. And that Milan F2 teams would be able to snipe any tanks. That's just trying to expose themselves. Yeah, John Paul is in a lovely position now, pretty much shutting down the main artery here. And Geralt is being forced to push back over the rear via, so to speak. That was a terrible joke, I apologise. There we go, we got the CV being brought in. I think he's just going to capture Alpha. It also is not a bad idea. It's going to give him a plus 3 point advantage. Which, well, in the end of the day, it's kind of the important part of the match. But it's definitely going to force Geralt to try and get some CVs, probably in India. He can't afford to be losing like this. That plus 3 tick is completely deadly. John Paul is actually doing not that bad up north now. He's actually moving along the far northern flank here. He's going to lose some of his APCs to the hot helicopter. There we go, the hot actually managing to get some kills, but against rather non-threatening APCs. They definitely could have been a little bit more accurate dealing with the AMX-10s down south. John Paul is coming around to try and finish off what remains in Charlie, but there's a little bit of anti-air. That reconnaissance Cobra is probably not going to like it. Same with the Lynx AH-7. Not going to like that much either. Usually better if the helicopter stays in the air rather than getting shot down. Geralt once again has been managing to build up a decent force to push this river. We do have 2 AMX-10s in the SBS here, so yeah, once they cross and expose themselves, the AMXs are going to have a rather fun time. There we go, one goes down. I'm going to be bringing in another hot helicopter to try and deal with the AMX-10s. See if he does better compared to his previous counterpart. We've seen a CV being slapped into India here. So just looking at this in general, I don't know what really Geralt can do. Like, he's losing control of his northern flank here. Like, he just can't really get into Foxtrot. The enemy is pretty well dug in into the town position, and he doesn't have enough of a fighting, an assault force, so to speak, to try and retake that. He's going to be only losing by a +1 once again once India gets captured, but John Paul definitely has the advantage and more command zones under his map control to potentially capture. I mean, I guess really his best bet is just try to neutralize things down south and regain Gulf. Fortunately for him, it hasn't been captured yet, so it's still feasible to retake his Gulf sector. He's actually managing to make a little bit of a foothold across that bridge now. Really needs those AMX-10s to 9. He doesn't have a whole lot of anti-tank down here. I believe he did try to bring in that hot helicopter, but the Crow Tower had something to say to it. And by say to it, I mean blow it up with rather powerful anti-helicopter missiles. Another Kernas strike. Almost killing the PGZ. Barely alive on a single sliver of HP. Just duct tape holding that anti-aircraft piece together. Another reconnaissance Cobra. Is the Chinese copycat of the Crow Tower down here, so it'd be a pretty easy kill. What's he doing with the J7? What's he bombing? Okay, sure. I guess in case of any ATGM troops, yeah. That just seemed a little bit random. And what's left in his pocket is trying to hold to the best of their ability. Lee Wrens and WZ trying to hold back Stormers, but with the helicopter play here. Oh, will the PGZ go down? Yes, it does. Fennec 2-2 getting a clutch kill, and that pretty much means that the rest of Charlie can be pretty easily cleared out now. Yo, John Paul, it depends if he realizes there's not a whole lot left in Charlie. These forests could still potentially hold a lot of dangerous threats for him from his perspective. What is that? CTQ-62. Yeah, it's going to need another Fennec 2 to finish that thing off. But Geralt's actually making pretty decent his progress down south. I still wish we'd see a tank here to try and capture this area. And what's he doing with this Mi-8? Is he actually going to try and sneak it up north into Foxtrot? I mean, he can do that. He still controls a sliver of it, but enough to get a CV on there at least. A ballsy move, but it could definitely pay off. I'd actually put him with the point advantage, and with only 24 minutes left in the match, he definitely needs a +1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1 I think Jean-Paul, it's a shame for him he hasn't managed to get that CV in to go. He's been a bit busy elsewhere. I guess that's one of the benefits of Geralt's Northern Purse is just redirecting points to his northern flank here. Jean-Paul hasn't been able to be as aggressive down south after that initial CV snipe. He's starting to bring in some infantry to clear out what is left in Charlie. And even then, if he manages to clear out Charlie and capture it, it's still worth this entire push, as it's a rather juicy +2 sector. Yeah, he is going to be bringing that CV up north. Is there any? Oh, there's no anti-air nearby, so Mi-8 will be able to land the infantry pretty safely. There's going to be landing them a little bit far away. They're going to have to go for a little bit of a jog, which is understandable. You don't want to get too risky. Because command infantry are expensive. All that radio equipment they have to carry around. Yeah, he has managed to get back into Goth at least now. So it's going to be a question, is he going to get another CV under here? CV up north. Having a little bit of fun at foot slog, yeah, but he should be able to get it in. I mean, the AMX-10s might actually spot him. Don't know if I'd have an angle here if he sneaks around here. You know, yeah, there we go. CV being slapped into Goth. Jean-Paul has meant to clear Charlie and Delta, and he's actually going to go on the offensive once again to try and clear out Goth with the Stormers and Jaegers. Let's see if this actually goes rather well. Because us looking in Goth here, I mean, we have some decent... they only hit the recoilless rifles, which aren't going to hold up too great against actual proper infantry. Unless they had a bit of range. But in this scenario, they're not going to have the range advantage. And up north, I think the CV got sniped. Looks to be the case. Yeah, looking at his smoldering crater. Got a play almost worked, but just didn't work. And there we go. Geralt is very keen on retaking Foxtrot here. But Jean-Paul, with the southern side a little less hectic, so to speak, right now, is going to try and push pretty heavy into Foxtrot. Yeah, it's a whole lot of ATGM troops, even bringing in some Manpatch. Just cause. But I think it's really just more of an excuse to have the Lynx AH7. And that's doing another bombing strike. Oh no, I didn't even get the bombs off. I think just pulling out in the nick of time. There we go, the Jaegers managing to get back into Goth. Lee Wrens may also be another 10-man reconnaissance squad, but then no Jaegers, that's for sure. And yeah, this offensive play is definitely getting Jean-Paul a victory here. He is almost retaking Goth again. And up north with all these new forces, he should be able to clear out what is left in that sliver of Foxtrot. There isn't a whole lot. We're seeing a little bit of a push up north with the reconnaissance tank. And some more Lee Wrens. There we go, the command infantry trying to get into Goth, gonna have to fall back due to that Jaeger push. He's gonna slow things down a bit. Now would be the time to do a Kernas strike. Yep, yeah, there we go. He's even bringing up a CV into Is he gonna go for Golf? I think he's gonna go for Golf. Gonna remove the enemy CV and plant his own. Like British colonization during the 18th century, just slap a flag on it and call it a day. Once again, it's going to be a bit of a foot slog here for the command infantry to get into the sector. But it's not a good day to be a CV for Geralt, that's for damn sure. He's been losing them left, right and centre, and I really don't think the sleeper CV here is going to have much luck getting into Foxtrot. It's quite a few ATGMs, and you can't really hide it yet, Row. There's no forest cover. Once it gets spotted, it's just gonna get Kernest. That's just the truth. It's gonna give him a plus. Never mind. I thought it had just a tad of a chance, but apparently it did not. And there we go. That's the GG. Jumpall taking a rather stunning victory. Like an initial early cheese with the AMX-10s paid off wonderfully, and he really just held that momentum for the majority of the match. It really goes to show that map is weird. We usually see northern pushes on that map, but it just never really works out. It always seems to be much better to try and push heavier in the southern side, because you get much more bang for your buck if you manage to completely capture it. And if you do manage to completely capture it, even though Jumpall didn't manage to completely hold it at the bridge choke point, he did slow down Geralt quite a bit and still keep up with that offensive play. So yeah, well, very good job for Mr. Jumpall II. Please try to avoid assassinations in the near future. And well, I'm going to leave it off. Yeah, this has been another Rangru cast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as usual, please just take it easy.